Commander Taemin stood on the bridge of the Imperial Dreadnought Eternal Dominion, watching the stars through the massive viewing screen. The ship was huge, bigger than most cities, and carried enough weapons to destroy entire planets. For 300 years, ships like this had kept peace in the galaxy by making everyone too scared to fight back. The Vega sector was quiet today, just like every other day. Pirates sometimes tried to sneak through this area, but they usually ran away when they saw an Imperial ship. Taemin was bored. Nothing interesting ever happened out here on the edge of space. "Sir, I'm getting something strange on the sensors," said Lieutenant So Young from her station. She was young and new to the ship, still excited about everything. Most officers learned to be bored after a few years of patrol duty. Taemin walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "There's a ship coming toward us, but it's not using the hyperspace lanes. It's just flying through normal space, but really, really fast." So Young pointed at her screen. "Look at this speed reading. This can't be right." Taemin looked at the numbers and frowned. The ship was moving at impossible speeds for normal space travel. No one could go that fast without using hyperspace, and hyperspace travel only worked on the special lanes that the Empire had built long ago. "Run a scan on that ship. Tell me what kind it is." So Young worked at her controls for several minutes. "Sir, I can't match it to anything in our database. The design is completely unknown. And sir, the energy readings are weird too." "Weird how?" "The ship seems to be powered by something we've never seen before. The computer keeps saying error when it tries to identify the power source." Taemin felt a chill run down his back. In 300 years, the Empire had met every intelligent species in the galaxy. There were no unknown ships. There couldn't be. "Try to contact them," he ordered. So Young sent out the standard Imperial greeting in the common galactic language. They waited. After a few minutes, a response came back, but it was in sounds that no one recognized. "Play it again," Taemin said. The strange sounds filled the bridge. It was clearly a language, but not one that existed in any Imperial records. The other officers on the bridge looked at each other nervously. "Sir, should I alert Fleet Command?" asked the tactical officer. "Not yet. Send out a mathematical sequence. Numbers are universal. Maybe they'll understand that." So Young sent out a simple counting pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The response came back quickly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then the unknown ship sent its own pattern, much more complex. "They're smart," So Young whispered. "Really smart." The unknown ship was getting closer now. On the main screen, they could see it clearly. It was sleek and silver, with a design unlike anything in Imperial space. It was much smaller than the Eternal Dominion, but something about it looked dangerous. "Sir, they're sending another message," So Young reported. This time the message came with pictures, simple drawings that showed the unknown ship wanting to travel to the center of Imperial space, to the capital world. The meaning was clear. They wanted safe passage. "Send them our standard warning," Taemin ordered. "Tell them to stop and prepare to be boarded for inspection." The message went out, but the unknown ship didn't slow down. Instead, it sent back more pictures. These showed the ship continuing on its path, but also showed symbols that might mean peaceful or no harm. "Sir, they're not stopping," the tactical officer reported. "Should I charge weapons?" Taemin thought hard. This was the kind of situation that could start wars or end careers. But he was an Imperial officer, and Imperial officers followed rules. Fire a warning shot across their bow. Make it clear we mean business. The Eternal Dominion fired one of its massive energy cannons. The blast shot past the unknown ship, bright enough to light up space for thousands of miles. It was the kind of shot that would make any normal ship surrender immediately. The unknown ship didn't even slow down. Instead, something impossible happened. A blue glow appeared around the strange vessel, and when the next warning shot hit it directly, the energy just bounced off like water hitting stone. The shot scattered harmlessly into space. Every person on the bridge stood silent. The Eternal Dominion had weapons that could crack moons in half. Nothing could just bounce off those shots like they were nothing. "Analysis," Taemin said quietly. "Sir, their defensive shields are using technology we don't understand. Our shots aren't even scratching them." The unknown ship sent another message. This time the pictures showed the Imperial ship and the unknown ship flying together peacefully. The meaning was clear. "We don't want to fight. We just want to pass through." "Sir, what are your orders?" the tactical officer asked. Taemin stared at the screen. Everything he knew about the galaxy said this was impossible. Unknown ships didn't exist. Unknown technology didn't exist. The Empire knew everything and controlled everything, but here was proof that they didn't. "Open a channel to Fleet Command," he said finally. "Tell them we have a situation that requires immediate attention." What should I tell them about the ship? Taemin looked at the sleek silver vessel that had just laughed off the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. "Tell them we've made contact with something new. Something that might change everything we thought we knew about space." The unknown ship continued on its course, neither threatening nor surrendering. It just flew calmly through Imperial space like it owned the place. And somehow, Taemin was beginning to think that maybe it did. He had spent his whole life believing that the Empire was the strongest force in the galaxy. Now, watching this small silver ship that treated Imperial weapons like toys, he wondered if that was about to change. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of machinery. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but nobody wanted to say it out loud. For the first time in 300 years, the Empire had met something it couldn't control, and that something was heading straight for the heart of Imperial space. Admiral Dong Hyun arrived in the Vega sector with 12 more Imperial ships. He was old, experienced, and had never met a problem that couldn't be solved with enough firepower. When he saw the readings from the unknown vessel, he decided this would be no different. 13 Imperial ships against one small, unknown vessel, he said to Commander Taemin over the communication link. "I think we have enough to handle whatever this is." The unknown ship had been waiting patiently for 2 days while the Imperial fleet gathered. It hadn't moved, hadn't attacked, and hadn't tried to run away. It just sat in space like it was waiting for an invitation to continue. "Sir, we're receiving a new transmission from the unknown vessel," reported Lieutenant So Young. "This one is different." "How different?" Taemin asked. "They're speaking the common galactic language now. Not perfectly, but we can understand them." Admiral Dong Hyun's voice crackled over the communication system. "Put it through to all ships." A new voice filled the bridge speakers. It was clearly alien, but speaking words they could understand. "Greetings to the Imperial fleet. We are humans from the planet Earth. We come in peace and request safe passage to your capital world. We wish to speak with your leaders about matters of mutual benefit." The bridge fell silent. Humans. No one had ever heard of humans before. Humans? Admiral Dong Hyun's voice was sharp. "Computer, search all records for any species called humans from any planet called Earth." The computer's response was immediate. "No records found." On the main screen, a new image appeared. It showed the unknown ship, but now they could see inside it through some kind of viewing port. The beings inside looked similar to several known species, but with small differences. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, and appeared to be about the right size to fit in Imperial buildings. "I am Captain Hyunwoo of the vessel Defiant Dawn," the voice continued. "With me is Dr. Yoonji, our specialist in meeting new species. We have traveled very far to reach your space. We mean no harm to your people." Admiral Dong Hyun cut into the transmission. "Unknown vessel, you are in Imperial space without permission. You will shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded for inspection." There was a pause before Captain Hyunwoo responded. "Admiral, we understand your position. However, we cannot allow boarding of our vessel for security reasons. We are willing to meet with your representatives in a neutral location to discuss our situation." "You cannot allow?" Admiral Dong Hyun's voice rose. "You are one ship surrounded by 13 Imperial dreadnoughts. You will submit to Imperial authority or be destroyed." On the Eternal Dominion, sensor technician Wu Jin was studying his instruments carefully. What he saw made his blood turn cold. "Commander," he whispered to Taemin, "you need to see these readings." Taemin looked at the sensor display. The human ship was generating more power than should be possible for something its size. The energy output was nearly equal to an Imperial dreadnought, but the ship was a fraction of the size. "How is that possible?" Taemin asked. "I don't know, sir. And there's something else. I'm detecting additional energy signatures around their ship. Faint ones, but they're there." "What kind of signatures?" "Sir, I think they have weapons powered up." "But if these readings are correct, their weapons are more powerful than ours." Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through the speakers again. "Admiral, we detect that your ships have armed their weapons systems. We have no wish for conflict, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." "Impossible," Admiral Dong Hyun snorted. "All ships prepare to fire on my command." What happened next changed everything. The human ship flickered and vanished from all sensors. For a moment, every Imperial ship tried to find it, scanning everywhere. Then it reappeared, but now it was behind the entire Imperial fleet, completely outside their formation. How did they do that? Someone whispered on the bridge. Admiral Dong Hyun's voice was tight with anger. All ships turn and target that vessel. Fire when ready. 13 Imperial dreadnoughts turned their massive weapons toward the small human ship. The amount of firepower aimed at the defiant Dawn could have destroyed a small moon. The human ship didn't run. Instead, Captain Hyunwoo's voice filled the communication channels, calm and steady. Admiral, we do not wish to harm your ships or your crews. Please reconsider your actions. Fire. Admiral Dong Hyun commanded. 13 dreadnoughts fired at once. Space lit up with energy beams and explosive missiles. The attack was so powerful that the light could be seen from systems away. When the light faded, the human ship was still there, completely undamaged. Around it glowed a blue field that seemed to absorb every shot fired at it. Impossible, Admiral Dong Hyun whispered. Dr. Yoonji's voice came through the speakers. She sounded sad. We had hoped this would not be necessary. Admiral, your weapons cannot harm our ship. We have defensive technology that is beyond your current understanding. But please know that we still wish for peaceful contact. Engineer Jiho's voice joined the transmission. Admiral, if it helps you understand, your ships are very impressive. But we solved the problems with energy shields about 50 years ago. We also solved faster-than-light travel without using your hyperspace lanes. And we've developed power sources that are much more efficient than yours. The Imperial fleet hung in space, their weapons useless against the small human vessel. For the first time in centuries, Imperial forces had met something they couldn't defeat. We will escort you to the capital, Admiral Dong Hyun said finally. His voice was quiet and defeated. Thank you, Admiral, Captain Hyunwoo replied. We appreciate your cooperation. And, Admiral, we really do come in peace. When you learn more about us, we think you'll be glad we found you. As the Imperial fleet began the journey toward the capital world, Taemin stood on his bridge thinking. The humans had technology that made Imperial ships look like toys. They could have destroyed the entire fleet easily, but they chose not to. That scared him more than their weapons did. It meant the humans were thinking several steps ahead. It meant they had a plan, and it meant the galaxy was about to change in ways that no one could predict. Emperor Jae-sung sat on his throne in the Great Palace on Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Empire. The throne room was enormous, designed to make visitors feel small and unimportant. Golden walls stretched up hundreds of feet, and the emperor's chair was raised high above everyone else. He was not in a good mood. For 300 years, no one had entered Imperial space without permission. For 300 years, Imperial weapons had been the most powerful in the galaxy. And for 300 years, everyone had bowed before Imperial authority. Now some unknown species called humans had made all of that look foolish. Tell me again how 13 dreadnoughts failed to stop one small ship, the Emperor said to General Namgil, who stood before the throne. Your Majesty, their defensive technology is beyond our understanding. Our weapons had no effect at all. The Emperor's fingers gripped the armrests of his throne. And now they want an audience with me? Yes, Your Majesty. They claim to come in peace and wish to discuss matters of mutual benefit. The Emperor laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Mutual benefit? They demonstrate that our weapons are useless, fly through our space like they own it, and then talk about mutual benefit. General Namgil remained silent. There was nothing good he could say. Very well, the Emperor said finally. I will meet with these humans, but I want every ship in the home fleet surrounding this planet. If they try anything, we'll see how their shields work against 1,000 ships instead of 13. 3 days later, the human delegation arrived at the palace. Emperor Jae-sung had expected them to be strange and alien, but they looked surprisingly normal. They could have passed for members of several species already in the Empire, except for small differences in their faces and build. Ambassador Yuri led the group, followed by Chief Engineer Subin and 2 guards. They walked into the throne room without showing any sign of being impressed by its size or grandeur. They looked around calmly like they were taking notes. Your Majesty, Ambassador Yuri said, bowing slightly. I am Ambassador Yuri, representative of the Human Colonial Council. We thank you for granting us this audience. The Emperor studied them carefully. You may speak. Tell me why I should not simply destroy your ship and send a message to whatever hole in space you crawled out of. Yuri smiled. Because, Your Majesty, we can help you solve problems that have been troubling your empire for decades. We know about the rebel movements in the outer systems. We know about the trade problems that are reducing your tax income. And we know about the technical difficulties that your engineers have been unable to solve. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. How could you possibly know about internal Imperial matters? We have been observing your civilization for some time, Your Majesty. Not to spy or cause harm, but to understand whether contact would be beneficial for both our peoples. Chief Engineer Subin stepped forward. Your Majesty, if I may demonstrate. The Emperor nodded, curious despite himself. Subin approached one of the wall panels that controlled the throne room's lighting and environmental systems. For 50 years, this panel had been malfunctioning, sometimes making the room too hot or too cold. The best Imperial engineers had tried to fix it, but the technology was so old that no one understood how it worked anymore. Subin examined the panel for less than a minute, then opened a small toolkit. She worked quietly while everyone watched. After 10 minutes, she stepped back. Try the environmental controls now, Your Majesty. One of the palace technicians operated the controls. For the first time in 50 years, they worked perfectly. The temperature adjusted smoothly, the lighting dimmed and brightened without flickering, and all the indicators showed green. The throne room fell silent. How? The Emperor asked quietly. The problem was in the quantum stabilization matrix, Subin explained. A simple fix once you understand the underlying principles. We learned to repair technology like this centuries ago. General Namgil leaned close to the Emperor and whispered, Your Majesty, if they can repair our old technology so easily, what else might they be able to do? Ambassador Yuri spoke again. Your Majesty, we come with an offer. Humanity wishes to establish peaceful relations with the Empire. We can share certain technologies that will help solve your current problems. In return, we ask only for the right to travel freely through Imperial space, and to establish trade relationships with your worlds. The Emperor sat back in his throne, thinking. These humans had technology that made them nearly invulnerable. They could have simply taken whatever they wanted from the Empire. Instead, they were offering to help. What kind of problems do you think you can solve? He asked. Yuri nodded to one of her guards, who activated a small device. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing a map of the galaxy with various systems marked in red. These systems have declared independence from the Empire in the last 10 years, Yuri said. Your forces have been unable to retake them because the rebels have learned to use hit-and-run tactics. They attack your supply lines and then disappear before your ships can respond. This is not news to me, the Emperor said coldly. But this might be, Yuri continued. The display changed, showing detailed information about rebel ship movements, supply bases, and planned attacks. We have observed their activities. We know where they hide and when they plan to strike next. General Namgil stared at the display in shock. The information was incredibly detailed and completely accurate. Some of it showed rebel activities that Imperial intelligence didn't even know about. There will be an attack on this system in 2 days, Yuri said, pointing to a world on the map. 3 rebel fleets will converge on the Imperial garrison there. Your local forces will not be able to stop them. The Emperor looked at the information carefully. If this was true, the Empire would lose an important strategic position. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. A palace guard ran into the throne room. Your Majesty, long-range sensors have detected a large rebel fleet approaching the Arcturus system. They'll arrive in less than 6 hours. Yuri looked at her own device. Actually, they'll arrive in 5 hours and 37 minutes, and there are more ships than your sensors can detect. They're using a masking technique that hides half their fleet. The Emperor stood up from his throne. General Namgil, how quickly can we get reinforcements to Arcturus? At least 8 hours, Your Majesty. Maybe 10. The garrison will be destroyed, the Emperor said grimly. Ambassador Yuri stepped forward. Your Majesty, our ship could reach Arcturus in less than 2 hours. We could provide assistance. 1 ship against an entire rebel fleet? Yuri smiled. Your Majesty, you've seen what one of our ships can do against 13 Imperial dreadnoughts. A rebel fleet with inferior technology will not be a problem. The Emperor looked at the humans, then at the display showing the rebel attack. He had to make a decision that could determine the future of the Empire. Very well, he said finally. Go to Arcturus. Show me what human ships can do against rebels. As the human delegation left the throne room, Chief Engineer Subin quietly fixed 2 more broken systems, just by walking past them. The Emperor watched through the security cameras as she did it almost casually. like it required no effort at all. For the first time in his long reign, Emperor Jae-sung wondered if the empire was about to become something very different from what it had always been. Rebel leader Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as 3 rebel fleets moved toward the Arcturus system. For months he had planned this attack. The Imperial garrison there was small and poorly supplied. Taking Arcturus would give the rebels control of an entire sector. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "The Imperial garrison has only 6 ships. This will be easy," Kyung-ho nodded. He had been fighting the Empire for 5 years, ever since they had destroyed his homeworld for refusing to pay impossible taxes. He had started with 1 stolen ship and a crew of 12. Now he commanded over 100 vessels and thousands of fighters for freedom. "Take us out of hyperspace," he ordered. "Begin the attack." The rebel fleet dropped into normal space around Arcturus. As expected, 6 Imperial ships moved to defend the planet. What was not expected was the 7th ship that appeared between the rebels and their target. "Unknown vessel detected," the sensor operator reported. "It's not matching any Imperial designs in our database." Kyung-ho looked at the tactical display. The unknown ship was small, sleek, and silver. It looked almost delicate compared to the massive rebel battleships surrounding it. "1 ship?" Kyung-ho laughed. "They must be desperate. All ships, ignore the unknown vessel and focus on the garrison." The rebel fleet moved forward, over 90 ships strong. The unknown vessel did not retreat. Instead, it sent a message on all frequencies. "Rebel fleet, this is Commander Insu of the human vessel Defiant Dawn. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately." Human? Kyung-ho had never heard the word before. Who are these humans? And why do they think 1 ship can stop an entire fleet? His question was answered quickly. The human ship opened fire, but not with weapons anyone recognized. Beams of blue energy reached out and touched 12 rebel ships. Those ships simply shut down. Their engines stopped, their weapons went offline, and their life support systems switched to emergency power. "What just happened?" Kyung-ho demanded. "Sir, 12 of our ships have been disabled. Their systems are completely offline, but the crews are alive." "Return fire. All ships destroy that vessel." 90 rebel ships fired at once. The space around the human ship lit up with energy beams, missiles, and plasma bolts. When the light faded, the Defiant Dawn was still there, protected by the same blue shield that had stopped Imperial weapons. Commander Insu's voice filled the communication channels. "Rebel fleet, you have 1 more chance to withdraw. We do not wish to destroy your ships or kill your crews. Never," Kyung-ho shouted back. "We will not bow to Imperial oppression, and we will not run from 1 unknown ship." "Very well," Insu replied sadly. "All rebel vessels prepare to be boarded." What happened next defied everything Kyung-ho thought he knew about space warfare. The human ship split apart. What had looked like 1 vessel was actually dozens of smaller craft attached together. Each small craft moved with impossible speed and agility, darting between rebel ships too fast to track. Blue energy beams reached out from each small craft. Every beam that touched a rebel ship disabled it instantly. Within minutes, the entire rebel fleet was powerless and drifting. "Sir, all ships are reporting the same thing," the communications officer said in a shaken voice. "Their engines are dead, weapons are offline, but crew is safe. The humans aren't trying to kill anyone." Kyung-ho stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 90 ships, disabled in minutes by technology he had never seen before. Commander Insu's voice came through the speakers again. "Rebel leader Kyung-ho, please respond. How do you know my name?" "We know a great deal about your rebellion, including why you started fighting. The destruction of your homeworld was indeed a crime. The Imperial governor responsible was corrupt and exceeded his authority." Kyung-ho was quiet for a long moment. "If you know that, then you know why we fight." "We do, and we believe your cause is just. But your methods are flawed." "What do you mean?" The tactical display changed, showing detailed information about rebel activities across the galaxy. "Your rebellion has caused the deaths of over 2 million innocent people. Imperial civilians, traitors, and colonists who had nothing to do with the policies you oppose. That's war," Kyung-ho said weakly. "No, that's murder," Insu replied firmly. "There are better ways to achieve your goals." Dr. Hae-won, the Imperial scientist who had been studying human technology, was aboard one of the garrison ships. She watched in amazement as the human vessels began connecting to the disabled rebel ships. "What are they doing?" she asked Captain Taeman, who had been transferred to Arcturus after the first contact with humans. "I think they're helping," Taman replied. The humans were indeed helping. Teams of human engineers boarded the rebel ships and began repairing systems that had been damaged in previous battles. They fixed engines, restored life support, and even improved some systems beyond their original specifications. "Why are you doing this?" Kyung-ho asked when a human team arrived on his flagship. The team leader, a woman named Bo-Ra, smiled at him. "Because we believe people should be free from oppression, but we also believe in doing things the right way." "What is the right way?" Bo-Ra activated a holographic display that showed the entire galaxy. "The Empire is changing whether it wants to or not. The old ways of ruling through fear and force are ending. We humans are here to help that change happen peacefully. You're working with the Empire? We're working with everyone who wants a better galaxy. That includes Imperial reformers and rebel leaders who care more about justice than revenge." Over the next several hours, Bo-Ra and her team shared information that shocked Kyung-ho. They had detailed records of Imperial corruption, but they also had plans for reform. They showed him worlds where humans had already helped negotiate peaceful transitions from Imperial rule to local self-government. "You're not just fighting the Empire," Bo-Ra explained. "You're trying to replace it with something better. We can help you do that without killing millions of innocent people." Kyung-ho looked at the information carefully. The humans had solutions for problems he hadn't even thought of. They had plans for trade, defense, and government that could work for everyone. "What do you want in return?" he asked. "Peace," Bo-Ra said simply. "We want the galaxy to be a place where people can live freely and safely. We want trade instead of war, cooperation instead of conquest." "And if we refuse?" Bo-Ra's expression became serious. "Then you'll discover that we have many more ships than just this one. And while we prefer peace, we will enforce it if necessary." As if to prove her point, the sensors suddenly detected dozens of new contacts jumping into the system. Ship after ship appeared, all of them human vessels, all of them as advanced as the Defiant Dawn. Kyung-ho realized that he was looking at a fleet that could conquer the entire galaxy if it wanted to. But instead of conquering, they were offering to help. "We accept your offer," he said quietly. Commander Insu's voice came through the communication system one more time, now addressing both the Imperial garrison and the rebel fleet. "This system is now under the protection of the Human-Imperial Cooperation Agreement. All ships, both Imperial and Rebel, will work together to establish peaceful governance. Anyone who attempts to disrupt this peace will answer to the human fleet." Dr. Haewon turned to Captain Taman. "Do you think this will work?" Taman watched as human, Imperial, and former Rebel ships began working together to organize humanitarian aid for the planet below. "I think," he said slowly, "that the galaxy just became a much more interesting place to live." President Myung-soo of the Human Colonial Council stood in the great throne room on Nexus Prime, but the room looked very different now. The massive golden throne had been replaced with a simple meeting table, where representatives from dozens of worlds could sit as equals. Emperor Jae-sung sat at one end of the table, no longer wearing his crown of absolute authority. 6 months had passed since the first human ship had appeared in Imperial space. In that time, the galaxy had changed more than it had in the previous 3 centuries. The latest reports are encouraging. Counselor Ye-jin announced to the assembled representatives, 47 former rebel systems have joined the new cooperative alliance. Trade is up 30% across all sectors, and we haven't had a single armed conflict in 2 months. Emperor Jae-sung, who now held the title of Imperial Representative, nodded approvingly. The transition has been smoother than anyone expected. That's because people want peace more than they want power, President Myung-soo replied. We simply gave them a way to achieve it. Admiral Shung-hwan, who commanded the joint human-imperial fleet, brought up the tactical display. We still have some holdout systems. 3 former Imperial worlds refused to join the alliance, and 2 rebel groups are still conducting raids. How do you recommend we handle them? Asked the representative from the Vega sector. The same way we've handled everything else, Admiral Shung-hwan said. We offer them the choice to join peacefully. If they refuse and continue to harm civilians, we stop them. Through the great windows of the meeting hall, they could see the orbital shipyards where the new reality of the galaxy was taking shape. Human ships worked alongside Imperial vessels and converted rebel craft. Engineers from dozens of species shared knowledge and techniques that had been kept secret for centuries. Former rebel leader Kyung-ho, now serving as the representative for the Outer Rim systems, spoke up. The people in my sector still ask the same question. Why did humans choose to help instead of conquer? You had the power to take over everything, President Myung-soo smiled. Because conquest doesn't last. Fear-based empires always fall eventually. But cooperation? That can last forever. There's something else, added Dr. Hae-won, who had become the chief researcher in the Human Imperial Technology Exchange Program. We've learned that humans didn't develop their advanced technology alone. They had help. This was news to most of the representatives. Emperor Jae-sung leaned forward with interest. What kind of help? Dr. Hae-won activated a holographic display showing star maps of unexplored regions beyond the galaxy's edge. For the past 200 years, humans have been in contact with several other advanced civilizations. Species that achieved interstellar travel long before any of us were born. Why haven't we met these other species? Asked the representative from the core worlds. President Myung-soo answered carefully. Because they were waiting to see if our galaxy could learn to live in peace. The old empire, with its conquest and oppression, was considered too dangerous for contact. But now with the new alliance, they're willing to consider meetings. The implications of this hit everyone at the same time. The galaxy they knew was just one small part of a much larger community of civilizations. How many other species are we talking about? Emperor Jae-sung asked quietly. Hundreds, President Myung-soo replied. Maybe thousands. And they have technologies that make our current advances look like stone tools. Commander Tae-min, who had been promoted to head of Alliance Security, spoke from his position near the door. Sir, we're receiving a priority message from the deep space monitoring stations. What kind of message? Unknown contact approaching from outside the galaxy. The energy signature matches the theoretical profiles for the advanced civilizations Dr. Hae-won mentioned. Everyone in the room became very quiet. President Myung-soo stood up. It appears our first test is arriving ahead of schedule. The holographic display changed to show the approaching vessel. It was enormous, larger than anything any of them had ever seen. It moved smoothly through space without any visible means of propulsion. All Alliance ships are moving to intercept, Admiral Seung-hwan reported. But sir, if this ship is as advanced as we think it is, then our weapons won't matter anyway, President Myung-soo finished. Open a communication channel. The channel opened and a voice filled the room. It was clearly artificial, but somehow warm and welcoming. Greetings to the beings of this galaxy. We are the Collective Council of Advanced Civilizations. We have observed the recent changes in your political structure with great interest. President Myung-soo stepped forward. Welcome to our galaxy. We are honored by your visit. We come to extend an invitation. Your species have demonstrated the ability to resolve conflicts through cooperation, rather than violence. This is the primary requirement for membership in the greater galactic community. Emperor Jae-sung looked at the human president. Membership. The galaxy you know is one of many, the voice continued. There are thousands of other galaxies, each containing millions of species. Those that learn to live in peace are welcomed into the council. Those that do not remain isolated until they mature. Dr. Hae-won asked the question everyone was thinking. What does membership involve? Access to technologies that will transform your civilization, medical advances that will extend lifespans by centuries, engineering knowledge that will allow you to build structures the size of star systems, transportation methods that will let you travel between galaxies in hours instead of millennia. The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. However, the voice continued, membership also brings responsibilities. You will be expected to help guide other developing civilizations, as the humans have done for you. You will be asked to contribute to the defense of the greater community, and you will be held accountable if you use advanced technologies for harmful purposes. President Myung-soo looked around the room at the representatives from across the galaxy. Former enemies sat side by side working together for the first time in centuries. We accept, he said simply. Excellent. The formal ceremonies will begin in 30 days. Until then, we will establish a permanent embassy in your galaxy. We look forward to working with you. The transmission ended, leaving everyone staring at each other in amazement. Emperor Jae-sung spoke first. 6 months ago, I ruled an empire through fear and force. Today, I'm part of an alliance that just gained membership in a community of thousands of galaxies. Kyung-ho laughed, still hardly believing it. 6 months ago, I was a rebel fighting impossible odds. Today, I'm helping to govern star systems peacefully. Commander Taemin walked to the great window and looked out at the mixed fleet of ships orbiting the planet. Human vessels, former Imperial dreadnoughts, and converted rebel craft worked together as a single force. You know what I think? He said to the room. I think that unregistered vessel that started all this knew exactly what it was doing. The humans didn't just stumble into our space by accident. President Myung-soo smiled. You're absolutely right, Commander. We've been preparing for this moment for over a century. We knew that someday our galaxy would be ready to join the greater community. We just needed to help it along. As the representatives began to discuss the practical details of joining the galactic community, the great ships in orbit continued their work. Engineers shared knowledge, merchants planned new trade routes, and former enemies worked side by side. The age of empire and rebellion was over. The age of cooperation and growth had begun, and somewhere in the depths of space, other young civilizations looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone was out there, waiting to welcome them into something larger than they had ever imagined. The answer, as it always had been, was yes.